I mean, it looks like a... What happened there? Do you want to do it again, or are you happy with that?
Let's do that again. Oh, dear.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James and Chris Dale.
Well, the moon may have been blasted out of orbit, but we're still here.
As promised last week. Yep.
That's right.
Yes. If you didn't listen last week, then you may not be aware of Richard's very strange way of saying next week, which I've now adopted, and I can't say it any other way.
You wait till next week. Oh, I said that differently.
You did. You created a new one. Well, I mean, this is the sort of amazing content you can expect on the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Yeah.
Richard saying words differently.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets.
That is the best we can hope for. At this point, I mean, we've already said every word there is to say in the kind of the Gerry Anderson podcast dictionary.
Well, we've had oeuvre, we've had tome.
Gubbins,
yeah, it's all there, isn't it?
Yeah, felicitations.
Have we had felicitations?
I'm pretty sure I've delivered a felicitations. Anyway, this is the Gerry Anderson podcast where we say words that mostly have some vague link to the worlds of Gerry Anderson.
Yes. And we tend to put them in some kind of order that makes sense as well.
Yeah. Semantics and linguistically, we're pretty good at our Anderson syntax.
Yes.
Anyway, I am one of the people delivering said syntax.
Right.
Jamie Anderson.
Okay, it's got a bit weird. I'm just going to say I'm Richard James.
Great. And also,
just to keep it simple.
we're joined every week by Chris Dale.
There he is. Hi, Chris. Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Why is he here again?
I'm not really sure. No, we know exactly why he's here. Yeah. He's here to deliver the most popular segment of this podcast.
I know.
Which is the Randomiser.
And all he does is sit there.
I know.
We do all the hard work.
Well, we're like the warm-up men, aren't we? We sit here. He just sits there. We sit here.
Exactly. We're sat sitting.
Exactly. But when Chris sits there, he does the randomiser where he presses a random button. Well, actually, he doesn't press it.
No.
The guest of the week presses the randomiser button.
Lucky.
Which randomly generates a random Gerry Anderson episode.
Yep.
And he watches it and says stuff.
Yep.
And everybody loves that bit.
I know.
It's only one bit. We do all the other bits.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we don't do all the other bits.
No, it's true. We do divide it up because we also have a guest who comes in and does a bit. And this week, it's the second part of my interview with Anton Phillips on Space 1999. How lucky are we to have him in the podcast studio?
Very lucky.
Shortly after Breakaway Day, of course.
Yes. Can I just stop you there? Because when we were walking to the studio today, you said that you've been up all night coming up with a very fun phrase.
Did I?
Yeah. About our guest.
Oh, yes.
And I don't think you used it last week.
No, I used it in the title of the podcast. So.
Yeah, I know, but I want you to say it with all the gusto that it deserves.
Ready?
Yeah.
Stand by for Anton.
Oh.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Who, Anton?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If only he was in Stingray, it would make sense.
It would have been amazing. Such a shame otherwise. Anyway, but yes, he's brilliant. So we've got the guest, obviously, Anton.
But really, the people who do the hardest work of all, who really carry the entire podcast, don't they? The dead weight that is the podcast. It's our wonderful Podsterons.
Yes, without them would be nothing.
No, true.
We'd have very little to say.
Yeah.
And we'd have nobody to speak to.
I know. How sad would that be?
So without you, we're nothing, Podsterons. Thank you.
But luckily, they've been emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Repeatedly.
And they've been commenting beneath our YouTube videos as well. So we'll get to hear what they think about some previous pods and FAB Facts, which is always useful. It's a good learning experience, I think.
It helps us to improve
to grow
things.
And improve, which is what
we're
all about.
Why haven't we done that yet?
I thought you were going to do that.
Oh, okay, fine.
Pod 275 is a bit late to grow and improve, isn't it?
See if we can improve it by 300. But
Sure.
you did mention there something which is a consistent, strong performer throughout.
Yeah.
It's the bit that's my favourite and the best thing in your life, I'm reliably told. It's Fab Facts. Do you want to go straight into a Fab Fact?
Well, as long as we can get straight back out of it.
We'll see.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
It's Fab Facts.
Yes.
A book of Fab Facts is right next to my head here.
Quite a thick fact.
It's
Fab book.
Yes. It's
facts.
so
Can't
thick
speak.
that sometimes I call it a different word.
Yes. Oh, you haven't said it for a couple of weeks.
No,
You're not gonna
because
use it?
I get lambasted
And lampooned.
and lampooned when I say said word. So no, I've just got this big old book. I flick through it and Richard shouts Fab at a random point, and that hopefully happens us upon a Fab Fact. Although I will say there's no guarantee that it's Fab, and quite often
That's very candid of you.
It can be a little limp,
Well,
shall we
that's
say.
my whole point. That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, but it's only
You're
occasional.
always ready to pick it up.
It's just occasional.
Wow, that's
So
quite an admission.
Let's hope this is not a damp squib today,
Let's hope
and
so.
instead that we've got a real Fab Fact.
Okay, let's see.
Are you ready?
Born ready. Fab!
Thank you. Well done.
Can I just say, what I particularly like is that initial thunk as the,
yes,
as
the cover flicks past the mic. I try not to do that, but...
Well, maybe don't start with the cover. Maybe just start with the pages.
All right.
I mean... Every day's a school day.
Who's the Fab Facts administrator here?
Well, you, apparently.
Well, thank you very much. So,
Okay.
Just leave it to me, eh?
All right.
Richard.
Yes.
I'm sure you've heard the phrases ghost hunt
Yes.
and ghost story.
Yes.
But have you ever heard of a ghost tower?
A ghost tower. No, I haven't.
A ghost tower. Ooh. Well, there's one in London.
Okay.
And it has a particular significance to the world of Gerry Anderson.
Does it?
Yes, well, I hope so, according to this Fab Fact right here.
Yeah.
If ever you're passing through Tottenham Court Road, look up and you'll see one of the most distinctive buildings on the London skyline.
Oh, yeah.
Centrepoint.
Yes, I know Centrepoint.
And it has a strange and interesting history.
Ooh.
It was designed by George Marsh and built between 1963 and 1966 with a hefty £5.5 million price tag, which, adjusted for inflation, must be a lot more than that now. It was built as a speculative office space by property tycoon Harry Hyams, who leased the site at £18,500 a year for 150 years, and he intended that the whole building be occupied by a single tenant.
The whole building?
It's quite a big building, isn't it?
It is.
In fact, he consistently refused proposals to allow tenants to rent single floors within the building, let alone single offices. With property prices rising, Hyams simply sat back and waited for his single tenant at the asking price of £1.25 million per annum. On completion, the building remained vacant for many years, leading to it being referred to as London's empty skyscraper. That's a very creative name, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
At the time, skyscrapers were rare in London, and Centrepoint's prominence led to it becoming a rallying symbol for opponents. The homeless charity Centrepoint was founded in 1969 as a homeless shelter in nearby Soho, named Centrepoint in response to the building Centrepoint being seen as an affront to the homeless.
Oh, I see.
For being left empty to make money for the property developer.
Right.
In the meantime, the building's value soared from £5 million to £20 million.
Empty.
Yeah, well, not being liable for taxes because it was unoccupied.
I see.
Even today, the refurbished tower remains largely empty, with few windows lit in the evenings, and this has led to it being called one of London's ghost towers.
Ghost towers, right, yes.
But, I mean, I'm asking myself this, and
What's
I'm sure Podsterons are.
Yeah.
What on earth has this got to do with Gerry Anderson?
That sounds like that was written in capitals,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, well, it is, funnily
Is
enough.
it?
Yes, good question, Podsterons and Richard and Text. Well, in 1969, just 3 years after its completion, the building obviously caught the eye of a certain television producer
Yes.
named Gerry Anderson.
Oh, yes, I've heard of him.
Where better to house the London base of British intelligence than in a building that everyone in the country knew to be empty? Yes, Centrepoint is the location used in the last series to feature Super Mario Nation and live action together, The Secret Service. It was, in fact, the secret base of British intelligence. Not so secret now, is it?
Oh, you've let it out.
Oh, I know,
Now
sorry.
they all know.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's interesting because it does. Did you know Centrepoint? What
I
it
know
looks like?
Centrepoint.
I mean, it looks like a Derek Meddings model, doesn't it? It
does.
That similar sort of construction.
All ready to be... No, I'm not going to say that.
No, don't say
Yeah,
that.
no,
No,
okay.
no, no.
But you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Absolutely, yes. And of course, because they were sort of semi-switching to live action, they were forced to find kind of real life locations
Yeah.
for the first time.
Yes. And it was Centrepoint.
Centrepoint.
Didn't realise.
No, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad. I quite enjoyed that. And I know Centrepoint very well. I shall look at it in a new light.
Me too. But yeah, not so secret now.
No.
So would you say that was a good Fab Fact or a flimsy Fab Fact? Or
No,
a-
I liked that. It's pretty good.
Really?
Interesting, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we're on a bit of a roll, a bit of an upwards trajectory.
Right.
Which has been sadly lacking of late.
Okay.
So we'll see what next week has to offer.
Let's hope for something good next week. I'm slightly worried about this one because I'm not really sure where we're going to go. But
I hadn't thought about that.
brings
Yes.
us to the end
Yeah.
of this week's...
Building fact.
no,
I mean,
blew it. I blew it.
Not even a suggestion.
Because I was going to
Nothing.
go secret fact, and then I hesitated, and then the
Could have gone for
moment had
secret fact.
gone.
Could have gone for secret fact.
Yeah. And it
well.
would have been secret building fact, wouldn't it?
Secret building fact. It was a secret building.
Good.
And a fact.
Let's move on.
Which I think we should.
Hello again, Ander fans. It's Jamie Anderson here, updating you on all the latest from the expansive world of Gerry Anderson. Let's dive straight in. Breakaway Day has come and gone, and what a day it was. If you managed to get yourself a comic anthology, then you are in for a treat. And there's just a whisper that you might still be able to get the comic anthology with that free puzzle gift. Also, the live stream was nothing short of brilliant, so hats off to the team for making that such a memorable one. Coming up tomorrow, we have an exclusive. Dive deep into the mind of the randomiser himself, Chris Dale, as he chats about his upcoming release, The Secrets of the Secret Service. This bookazine promises to give fans a deep dive into the final Super Mario Nation series, and you can secure your copy with a pre-order for delivery later this season. Thunderbirds enthusiasts, your special day is just around the corner. With Thunderbirds Day approaching, we're dropping hints and teasers left and right. The main event? Well, of course, it's going to be a Super Thunderbirds Day livestream set for 7 PM on the 30th of September. Don't miss out. Exciting news, we've renewed and expanded our license with ITV, allowing us to explore fresh, innovative ways to celebrate your beloved shows. This means new stories in comic books, graphic novels, and audio formats spanning all your favourite series. But here's the thing, we want to hear from you. Which tales are you itching to dive into? Drop us a line at podcast@gerryanderson.com. Speaking of fresh content, did you catch the sneak peek of our exquisite new Eagle collectibles? Well, as part of that expanded ITV deal, this is merely the tip of the iceberg in our forthcoming range, so stay tuned for more details. And finally, after all the hints and teasers, next week the veil will finally be lifted, and those furry fiends that I've been alluding to, well, they're about to step into the limelight in a way that you might not expect. Brace yourselves, and as always, stand by for action. As ever, there's a wealth of content over on our YouTube channel, so don't forget to check it out. But until next time, remember the legacy, enjoy the journey, and keep the Anderson spirit alive. Back to Richard and Jamie in the studio.
Let's move on to our wonderful Podsterons. By the way, if you're sitting there listening or watching as you're doing the ironing pen, you might have a stray hand. Maybe you iron with the left and right hand and you've got a stray hand. Well, you could use that on your phone to subscribe to what...
I don't think we want to encourage people to multitask while doing the ironing. There's no indemnity insurance on this podcast for you doing that. Please do not risk doing that sort of thing.
I apologise.
If you're going to subscribe, take a few moments,
Yeah.
possibly sit down.
Switch the iron off.
Yeah, exactly. Switch the
Don't
iron
leave
off.
it on.
Make sure everything's safe.
Yeah. Look around you. Make sure there are no other hazards in the area.
Exactly. No trip hazards or anything.
Yeah,
and then
okay.
sit carefully
Yeah.
and, with your head upright so you
Yes.
don't get a neck injury.
Straight back.
Very carefully
Yeah.
subscribe to the podcast.
Okay, there you go. And also, while you're there, you can leave a nice rating, which is a review and a rating to let us know how we're doing. We'd love to see your comments, and 5-star rating is a thing of joy, isn't it?
Oh, it really is.
We live for them, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. We read them between takes.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's just to keep us going. It's the only thing that sustains us. So please, without you, we'll shrivel and wither and perish.
So it's just as well that the Podsterons have been in touch. Would you like to hear some email?
Thank goodness, please nourish me with those emails.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Hello, Richard and Jamie.
Hello.
This is Simpsons Clips 24 here.
Another one.
Yeah. So I was looking through some old issues of FAB magazine when I came across something that I thought was very interesting indeed.
Oh, really?
Simpsons Clips.
We'll see about that.
It was an article that said something along the lines of Gerry Anderson's forthcoming new children's series, Lavender Castle, has been bought by the BBC for a screening in 1998. Now, I don't know what events led to it not being shown on the BBC. Perhaps Teresa Plummer-Andrews, the executive producer for the BBC's children's department, didn't like science fiction, but it has led me to wonder, would the show have found more success if it was screened on the BBC? What do you think? SIG, Simpsons Clips 24.
Well, I don't know why it didn't end up on the BBC.
Yeah. They were expecting it to, though, clearly.
Yeah, it'll be some sort of licensing or distribution contract problem.
Yeah.
But obviously, CBBC, even then, was bigger than CITV that it ended up on. So it probably would have had more eyeballs.
Yeah.
And there's something about Lavender Castle which, I don't know, fits the sensibility of children's BBC a little better, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
You not think?
In what way?
I'm not quite
More
sure.
Reithian somehow?
I can't really tell, and I worry about trying to find the words because it may end up sounding offensive, and I don't mean it to be at all. But it just, I don't know. There's just something of the nature of it, the style of it, the thoughtful handmade, which maybe for me, but especially in that era would have fitted better with CBBC.
Sure, yeah. Stephen Carson from Edinburgh got in touch to say, "Hi, Richard and Jamie. I'm still getting used to the new format, and I tend to listen to the beginning, FAB Facts and the Gerry Anderson news. However, I then watch the interview and Chris Dale's Randomiser. That
I've
seems to be a
noticed
thing.
this.
Yeah.
Basically, nobody wants to see us. They just want to see the interviews and the randomiser.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
That's fair.
You may wish to involve Chris in this part of my email. Hi, Chris. Hi.
Okay, Chris.
Hi guys.
I think the randomizer benefits from actually seeing what Chris is describing.
I agree.
It did make me think, once all the episodes have had the randomizer treatment, would Chris consider revisiting those episodes which were under the old format? It could either be exactly as he's doing now, or perhaps also include Chris commenting on the original randomizer. I would love to hear Chris's thoughts regarding this suggestion.
Well, so you'd have Chris watching it in here,
Yeah.
and then also a playback of the previous randomizer
That's
while
it.
he's watching the episode,
That's
and
exactly
he's commenting on what he said previously as well as the episode at the same time.
That's it.
The meta randomizer.
Yes.
Okay, I
That's
hope
the thought,
to
isn't
watch
it?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Chris has suddenly disappeared.
It's funny that, isn't it?
Don't know why. I've got one from Sean.
Oh, great.
Hi, Jamie, Richard, and Chris.
Hi there, Sean.
Well, Chris is gone for now, but
Yeah.
I've loved all the Anderson stuff since I was a boy in the 1960s. Do you think it would be a possible idea to update UFO or 1999 with a new series? And apart from Richard, who would be in it? Well, obviously, Richard's in there
Yeah.
playing, Dr. Russell and...
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, you'd
For
play
sure.
that, and Alan Carter.
Yeah,
just
one-man show.
A couple of masks.
Yeah.
You'd be Maya.
Yeah, no one would ever know.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean, we do a lot of thinking about potential live-action reboots and who you'd cast and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But a key thing here is, do you think it would be possible to update?
Yes.
Well, it's a
Yes.
very challenging thing to do.
What do you think?
In terms of, well, I'm not theoretically.
I see.
I'm talking practically.
Oh, absolutely,
Because
yeah.
quite often we get asked, why don't you remake
Yeah.
X, Y, Z? Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
for many reasons.
Yeah.
Mostly, they're blooming expensive.
Yeah.
And getting all the rights holders to say, yes, let's do it is really difficult. And getting people to commit the money to do it is really difficult.
Yeah.
So it's a great idea, which is discussed all the time.
Yes.
The practicalities are another matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. How interesting.
Sorry to be the boring school teacher there.
Ambassador Paul Hyde from the Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight, not Paul Hyder in China.
No. Hi, chaps. I was wondering how the band Spectrum got involved with Captain Scarlet in the first place, and did Barry Gray write the music for them? I've just got their album, which was suggested by our fellow podder Duncan Moss. It would be nice if you could track down any of the band if they're still alive and interview them. Yours, Ambassador Paul Hyde. Oh, what do you know about Spectrum?
I know nothing about
Okay.
Spectrum. So I would love to know some
Wouldn't
more
that be
about
great?
Spectrum. I know very little. No, I mean, they found that really lovely bit of footage from 67 of Spectrum around Carnaby Street that was included on the Captain Scarlet Blu-ray, doing all sorts of promotional stuff. But I'm not sure how they came to be involved or what went on there or what came first. Is it, chicken and egg?
Yes.
So, yeah,
All
if
right.
you know, email us podcast@gerryanderson.com and
Yes.
perhaps there's a future video for the YouTube channel right there.
Yes. Thanks for that, Ambassador Paul. I'm going to get onto that myself, do a bit of research, see what I can find.
Maybe there's a reunion. They can all be on the sofa.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Oh, come on, get on with it.
All right, well, not now. I'm doing a podcast. but
Oh, sorry.
yes, cool. Fine.
Do you want me to do another one?
Yes.
Rick Adams.
Oh, yeah.
He's been writing in.
Oh, good.
He sent an email.
Oh, thank God for that.
Do you want to know what it says?
Yes, I do.
Rick says, "Hi, Jamie and Richard.
Hello.
I've always loved the 90s dance track by FAB featuring MC Parker called Thunderbirds Are Go.
Fine.
You know the one?
No.
Oh, it's terrible. Which features lots of samples from Gerry Anderson Productions set to an old school Euro dance beat.
Oh, yeah.
It spent 8 weeks in the chart over the summer holidays in 1990 and even got into the top 10.
Well, really?
Did it?
Gosh.
Can't believe that.
No.
Doesn't say much of the top 9, does it?
Yeah.
I just wondered if Jamie knew any information about it, like how it came to be or what Gerry thought of it.
Right.
P.S. For Richard, Space Precinct is my favourite Gerry Anderson production. You suck up, Rick.
And that's why that email is on that
It's
list.
funny that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure about the history of this kind of weird remix release. I mean, they were very, very weird. And there's the video, I think, the music video with Parker at the decks.
Right, okay.
Being MC Parker. I mean,
Right.
it's terrible. I can't believe you love it, Rick. But
Yeah.
each to their own.
Each to their
I'm
own.
glad it brought you some happiness.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there we go. Keep them coming in. Email us, podcast@gerryanderson.com. I don't need to tell you how to do it now, do I?
Please, no. There's
You know
no need for a
exactly.
presentation.
No, exactly. Send in your emails and we'll read them out next time for sure.
Okay.
Pod 276, that'll be, won't it?
You're right. Gosh, you're so good at counting these days.
I'm getting much better.
You can hear that next week.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Now, just before the randomiser, it's time to welcome, Anton Phillips back to the other side of the table where you're sitting.
Yes, I've warmed the seat up for him
That's very
nicely.
kind, but could you kindly vacate the seat?
Okay, goodbye.
After drama school, our guest began an acting career in Britain that broke many barriers and becoming best known as a cast member of Space 1999. He survived a devastating explosion on the moon, but he's here to help us celebrate Breakaway Day and tell us more about his life and times. It's Anton Phillips! Anton, thank you for joining us again. I'm glad we didn't scare you away last week.
No, my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Great. Last time we met a young Anton Phillips who found himself cast away on the moon. A podcast viewer recently posted a picture on our Facebook group, which is to highlight the diversity of the cast of Space 1999. Do you think that's a fair comment, and were you aware of it at the time?
What, the diversity of the cast?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a fair comment because, casting certainly at that time was very white. And apart from myself and Clifton, there's Xenia, for instance, and then the Italians coming in as well as special guests. And that.
Yeah.
So that did make a difference, but I do think it had an effect on how much we had to do. Certainly, if you look at the series, all of us had episodes devoted to some particular crisis, which we are concerned at, whether it was Prentice Hancock or Nick Tate or Xenia, come to that. But if you look at it, there isn't a single episode in those 24 episodes which either involve Clifton or myself carrying the main storyline.
So there's still a long way to go at that point.
It was, yes.
I mean, I suppose it's a line that ends perhaps happily in the world of Star Trek with the first black captain of Deep Space Nine.
Right, yes.
But still in the 70s, struggling to get that recognition.
And I think it might have something to do with where they're going to be selling the series onto. I think they certainly had an eye on, certainly the American market principally.
Yeah.
And having, strong storylines with black characters wasn't necessarily, at the time, the most compelling requirement.
In an ideal world for you, Anton, I'm interested in this. Would the ultimate goal be to cast black actors in, obviously, major roles, leading roles, without race even being a question?
And it's happening now. There's a series where it really is startling in that sense, called The Great, about Catherine the Great of Russia, which is a period piece for a start. And they cast right across any kind of racial line. So some of the Russian aristocrats are cast as black people or cast as Indians, or with no reference being made to color or appearance or anything. They're just cast as actors. And it really is, it's startlingly refreshing to see that.
And likewise Bridgerton as well, a series you might be really big on Netflix. And that seems to have come from theatre, which is a little more colourblind, you might think. I know, again, not ideal, but certainly the trend these days, and the right trend, is to cast actors on their merits and not on the colour of their skin.
Yes, I mean, certainly that's happening. And recent things that have happened, especially in America, have prompted that move. The George Floyd,
that's right,
incident.
Murder, not incident.
That whole movement which came out of that has forced people to stop and think about what they're doing and how they're doing it. But having said that, one of the things which I discovered is that the theatre establishment in this country is a seriously conservative establishment. It resists change, which I discovered. And I say theatre, but it also extends into the film and television industry. So that certainly there are parts which I went up for which required a black man, and I'd walk in the room and I wasn't black enough as I stepped through the door. You could just see, thank you for coming. They could have said that before I opened my mouth or anything.
What a nonsense, isn't it, really?
Now that I think is probably loosening up a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, still a way to go.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I asked you in our brief email exchange beforehand to provide me with your favourite moment. So let's have a look at that and have a chat about what you picked.
Return to base immediately. Repeat, return to base immediately.
And off we go.
Well, if
Breakaway.
you're doing that today,
Yeah.
you couldn't improve on that, could you?
I agree, absolutely. It's a really effective sequence, isn't it?
Yeah, look at those I mean, that can't be improved on. That's, and then the response to the explosion and and people being thrown all around the place and so
That's
on.
it.
I mean, really very, very good.
I mean, it's a nice metaphor, isn't it? Because it's the beginning of an epic journey for the characters. And also, you might say, a beginning of something of a journey for the cast as well.
Yes,
for that first year at Pinewood.
Yeah. And, well, I was just going to say, also, it just sets up the series so nicely as well.
Yeah.
And creates because of this huge catastrophe which happens, it brings everybody together on Moonbase, so we have this common goal of survival.
Yes.
Which lends it this kind of warmth, and even though the set and the design and everything is all clean cut and hard edged in a way. The group, the cast, the storylines and everything else, I think kind of emphasizes and stresses the camaraderie-ness of the people.
It's a story about humanity, ultimately, for me, as a viewer. I remember that very clearly. Now, Chris Dale, who also appears on the podcast, had a question for you about, he was saying that whenever anything bad happened on Moonbase, Dr. Matthias was always the first to be smashed over the head or thrown through a plate glass window. Why was that? How did that feel?
I don't know.
Did you do many of those stunts yourself, or
no? I had a wonderful stuntman called Paul Weller. I think his name was, certainly Paul anyway. And he was a taller guy, bigger than me, white as well.
Right.
But by the time he came out of makeup, my then wife, did a couple of episodes of Space 1999.
Oh yes.
And she was in one where I can't remember what the disaster was I was facing, but Paul was there, made up as me, and I said to him, "Look, over there's my wife. Go over and say hello to her and see." He went over to her and bent down to kiss her on the cheek, and she sort of went, and it took a moment before she registered that it wasn't actually me.
How funny.
But no, he did all my stunts. I mean, I'd start off something like that fight with Nick.
Oh yes.
And then drop out a shot, and he would come in.
I see.
And Nick's stuntman would come in, and then
You'd sit back and watch with a cup
we'd
of tea.
sit back and watch it. Yes.
Series 2. So what happened? A couple of episodes for you.
Yes. Money. Plain and simple. They invited me to come back. I didn't realize that they were actually whittling down the cast or anything.
Right.
But they invited me to come back and offered me the same money.
Right.
I thought, hang on, they're not paying me that much to start off with.
Right. Yeah.
So we went into negotiation. My agent said, "Look, we need such and such," and they said, "No, you can have the same." And so that took over a couple of episodes. We were negotiating during those first two episodes.
I see.
And by the time it got to the end of the second, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go off and do something anyway. I'm going to
Right.
Because the funny thing is, when I did the 24 episodes of Series 1, which took about a year out of my career, as it were. It's theatrical. It was going lovely. Jobs were coming in and so on, building up a reputation. Then went into Space 99 and disappeared off the stage.
Sure. Suddenly you're not available, are you?
I'm not there.
I see.
And I then even learned, after Space was finished and everything else, some friend of mine said, I went up for such and such a part, and they said, we've been trying to get hold of Anton Phillips. Do you know, and they were told Anton Phillips has left. He's gone to live in America.
Oh, right, okay.
I wasn't even in the country. Never mind.
Wow.
And I just thought, the thing is, when we did Space, it was like 6 months before it was shown here in Britain. So there's this long gap. So it's not even I was back on in any kind of public viewing or. So I thought, no, let me go back to concentrate on theatre and picking up again and reestablishing.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and also having then done 2 episodes and seeing the change in the whole atmosphere of the place. That lovely family feeling and the loss of Barry and others, and I just thought it's not the same thing.
Now, what do you put that down to? Because there was a change in the production staff,
Yes,
of course.
I think it probably came from
from the top.
From the top.
Yeah.
Yes. Fans. It's a huge controversial thing as to whether this American producer who was brought in was responsible for putting the kind of hand of doom on it.
Yeah. Now, before we get to some more viewers' questions, just like last week, and talk about your theatre work, just a look again at another piece of TV. This is, I think it's from about 40 years ago now, so more recent memory. Well, it's a trailer for something that you did all those years ago. Let's have a look at this.
Jane!
Jane!
We had a similar case in last week. The heroin itself is impure.
That means somebody out there on the streets is poisoning their poison.
Yes.
Harry, for God's sake, that's not Robbie!
I told him he was a freak you ought to be after. Makes me describe him, then he beats me up and goes off.
What's the pusher's name?
They call him the gent. Looks like one too, a bowler hat, old school tie.
You have 1 second.
I swear I don't know! Oh, God!
Return of the Saint.
Yes.
Ian Ogilvy and Christopher Timothy, I saw there as well.
That's right. Yes,
Full of young
yes,
people again,
Yes.
as they were.
Interesting how interesting. He looks so much like Roger Moore in that, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely
Maybe
right.
a broadcast that might.
Yeah. Now, would you say you're happiest in front of a camera or in front of a live audience? Both very different experiences.
It is very different. It is really different. I've never ever really felt that I cracked the camera. There's some actors who have a relationship with a camera which just makes it work for them so well, doesn't it? Yeah. And I never ever felt I had that relationship. Whereas when I'm on stage, I feel I have that relationship with the audience.
Yeah.
I feel we're in it together.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's easier to do that because an audience is a living, breathing thing, and you're responding to each other. You play off each other when you're on stage so much. And I feel I could do that on stage. I picked up the sense of the audience, and I could take them along, using that sense. Or if there's, and I never ever really got that from being in front of a camera.
And of course, you get a rehearsal process in the theatre.
Quite,
You get
yes.
four to 6 weeks of exploring your character and relationships and so on.
And not only that, you then get the opportunity to redo it over and over, when you're running it.
Yes.
Which is another whole learning experience
Yes.
again, in addition to the rehearsal period that
Yeah.
you've had before.
Yeah, that's right. And as a director too, I think you've had a great deal of experience.
Yes.
Were you able to bring sort of best practices from directors you'd worked with on TV, or was it a
absolutely.
completely
Yeah,
different
yes.
beast as a director of theatre?
Best practices mainly from people I'd worked with on stage, but you learn
Yeah.
everything, or rather you learn from every director, really, whether it's Charlie Crichton or Ray Austin, or Charles Marowitz on stage or whoever. You learn what makes it work for them. Why is he a good director? And you sort of do this instinctively. You're not sitting there studying that.
Yeah.
So that when it came for me to start directing, these were the things I drew on and thought, this is how you get people to work for you, because ultimately that's what you want.
Absolutely right.
People to actually work together as an ensemble and work for you.
Yeah.
And in Space 1999, for instance, one of the successful things about that is that they did get the cast to work as an ensemble.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And a lot must go down to Martin and Barbara for that as well, because they weren't playing the starstruck Hollywood, big wigs.
Yeah.
They were really embracing of people.
Wonderful.
And the guests which came in as well, and so on.
Yeah.
And that was also a really nice part of it, working with some of those guests who came in.
Oh, sure.
I didn't work with all of them, but Peter Bowles, I think I had scenes with. And my favourite one, of course, is Peter Cushing. He was just such a lovely, lovely person.
So we spoke briefly, I think, last time about, if you're a day player on something and the regular cast tend to be quite dismissive. The boot was on the other foot with you there. So you were able to be the kind of actor you would want.
Yes.
to welcome
But
you to
mind
set.
you, some of these people coming here are such big stars. You sort of sit down there and look up in awe.
Yeah. Now, just before we move on, let's have another opening of the Space 1999 lunchbox to see what our viewers and listeners have been sending in for you.
What we got here? We have one from Roger Morgan. Mm-hmm. Actors sometimes flesh out their characters and give themselves a backstory or expand their scenarios. Did you do this, or was it just turn up, read your lines, and off home?
Nothing wrong with that, by the way.
No, and when you do film and television, I think you tend to do the second version of that.
Yeah.
I think if you're doing a feature film and you've got a big part in there, you need to do a lot more study.
And what about Bob Mathias? Was it left to you to kind of bring your own backstory? Nothing was suggested to you?
Absolutely, yes. I never ever had a discussion.
Right.
Not even a discussion. I've never even had a suggestion from any of the directors about who or what Bob Mathias was.
But from your point of view, for security as an actor, did you have to know, or didn't it matter?
Well, yes, because I had to be consistent.
Uh-huh.
So I had to know what and who Bob Mathias was.
Yeah.
And also, as a trained actor, you tend to do that automatically anyway, don't you?
Yeah.
So you're then in a position to say to a director, if something really comes across which goes against everything that character is, you have to be able to say, well, hang on, would this guy really do that?
Yeah, and have the confidence to stand your ground as well, I suppose.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. I don't think I was ever big enough to be able to stand my ground on something like that. But, people are open to listening to what you have to say. You come in and they've got their plans and how the scene is going to run. But if you say, well, look, can I do it this way instead? And they'll say, yes, that sounds good. Go ahead. So there's that, two-way exchange, which was really good.
Yeah. One more question, I think.
Let's see. This is from John Jackson. Were there any tensions or resistance to changes in Season 2 of Space 1999 that you saw? What did you make of Season 2 changes?
So we discussed that a little bit. Were you aware of how other people felt about it?
Well, there certainly wasn't any discussion on the set about it in the time that I was there.
Yeah.
But the entire atmosphere in the studio was so different to season 1 that going to work wasn't the pleasure that it had been in season 1.
Yeah.
Going to work was just turning up for work.
Yeah.
And it must have been the changes and the people who had dropped out of the series which brought that forward.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, none of us knew, I certainly didn't know, that we weren't going to have Victor Berkman and who else?
I see.
Some of the others who had dropped out of it. And so it came as quite a shock. And there wasn't any explanation. It's not that Barry didn't want to do it or anything like that. And that whole family feeling and feeling of being part of something special just didn't seem to be there in that tone.
Now I'm going to show you one more TV clip, but actually I think will lead us quite nicely into your work on the theatre, following your TV work, and particularly with Carib, which I'd like to talk to you about as well. So let's have a quick look at this.
Oh, Sergeant Jones.
Yes? Dr. Moon would like your advice. Yes. You see, last night, as I was driving to a patient in an emergency call-out, I was stopped by 2 police officers. They searched me, didn't believe I was a doctor. It's the 4th time it's happened.
Doctor, if you want to make a complaint, you have to go to the station front desk. It'll be put in the incident book and get dealt with.
So you think I should make an official complaint?
Well, it's not up to me.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being paranoid. Maybe it was a genuine mix-up.
Could be.
Well, he wrote down the officer's number. But I thought maybe you could look into it.
If he feels strongly about it, he should go to the station and make a complaint.
But I just thought it would be better coming through you.
No. Not through me. Sorry.
I thought you said he was sympathetic.
But he's usually very helpful.
Policeman is a policeman. Whatever his colour, they look after their own.
I have no memory of that
at
all.
Yes. I would say just before we started playing that, Anton said, "Was I in this?" 1992.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Dr. Moore.
As I said before, I play a lot of doctors.
There you go. Yeah, funny that, isn't it? So this, it was a particular episode was a complaint of sexual harassment by WPC against a black sergeant. Now, it was an episode of a hit TV show telling stories, in this case, perhaps not so much from a black perspective, but certainly from more of a sympathetic perspective, perhaps, towards black people in the UK. Did this, you say you can't really remember filming that, but did that chime with the sort of stories you wanted to start telling as a performer?
Well, it's certainly stories which needed to be told, and still do. I mean, there's so many stories that we do have about life in this Britain. Never mind, about life in the various countries that we originated from, and we need to tell our own stories to our own people as well. It's interesting if you go into the West End of London, where the majority of the commercial theatres are. There are very few stories there which have anything to do with black people, and then they turn around and say, well, why don't black people ever go to the West End? It's because there's nothing that they have in common with anything. Yeah. Okay, more recently there have been things coming in.
Yeah.
Most notably of all, of course, is Hamilton.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Hamilton.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
But what a brilliant
Amazing.
Piece of theatre.
Absolutely.
So, and I suppose in a way that leads into why I started up a theatre company.
Yes. So tell me about Carib Theatre Company. What was the thinking behind that, and how did that happen?
Well, it is literally about what we're talking about. That I wasn't seeing anything which reflected my community on stage. Nothing was being offered. So then I started. I thought, well, there was Tallowa Theatre Company, which had been running for a few years. And then a theatre company called Black Theatre Cooperative started up. And this was started by a group of young black actors And a friend of mine said, oh, you know, those people at Black Theatre Cooperative, you know, they only ever employ themselves, they don't employ the rest of us. And I said, well, yes, that's why they started up the company, you know, to employ themselves.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, you know, if you envy them so much, why don't you start up a company? And then I thought, hang on, why don't I start up a company doing that?
I could do that, yes.
And so, I gathered a few people together. We talked about it, and eventually Carib Theatre came about, precisely to offer work to black actors, black writers, black directors, black stage management, you know, the entire gamut of the profession.
And where were you performing? Touring or
wherever we could, because that was the other big problem, that, you know, the theatres, only fringe theatres, small theatres would even consider taking you in, which is pretty much still the case. So actually finding venues to then put on these plays was a big difficulty. One of the things which happened at the time is that the government of London changed, and Ken Livingstone became leader of the council, the Greater London Council. And he had a much different attitude to what prevailed at the time. He was certainly against the status quo. And so I wrote to him. I said, what are you going to do about black theatre?
Right.
And he said, well, come in and talk to us about it, which I did. I went in, I saw a couple of his offices and explained, you know, the situation that, you know, there are a few black theatre companies around, but we have no venues. You know, if we want to put on plays, you know, we have to go and find some scout hut somewhere or a church hall, usually on the fringes of London, but certainly hardly anywhere in the centre of London. You know, so we need our own theatre. And they said the reply to that was, well, we're not going to give you a theatre because we're not acquiring any more property or anything, but we'll make sure you get access to places. And so we went to see the Arts Theatre, which is in Great Newport Street, right, and just off St. Martin's Lane, in the heart of centre theatre land. And that led to what became the Black Theatre season. So for 3 months in the year, we would put on a series of plays, a series of productions funded by the JLC, and in a proper theatre with nice red seating, with a proper lighting box and sound and red curtains which drop in front and a proscenium. And you didn't have to go in and sweep the stage before you did the production, or your performing space, never mind the stage. So, and that just gave such a huge profile to Black and Asian theatre, because I invited Asian theatre companies to come in and take part in this as well. And, so for the first time, you could see a series of plays. We cut it down to 3 plays, so every month a new play would be on, which would expose the writing, which would expose the actors, which would give opportunities for all those workers, lighting designers, sound designers, costume people, to work on these plays.
Now, I know Wikipedia can't often be trusted, but there's a lovely quote here that says of you, his professional life has been dedicated to the promotion of black theatre, and to that end, Phillips started a number of projects that significantly changed the profile of black and Asian theatre in Britain. That's something to be proud of, isn't it?
Yes, I am proud of that. And there are 1 or 2 things in Wikipedia which, as you said, are not exactly accurate. I think it said in Wikipedia that I'm the first black actor on television or something like that, which isn't true, of course. I mean, you had Rudolph Walker and Carmen Monroe and people like that on television before me. But one of the early ones, certainly. But to have taken on the whole theatre establishment, including the Arts Council of England, and in a way prevailed, is something that I am proud of, because a lot of people are now having the opportunity to practice their craft at their highest level, which didn't exist certainly when I started in theatre. And I think I've been a part of, that building structure, which has allowed them to, rise up higher and achieve things which certainly weren't possible. When I started, and for years, if they wanted to do a play or television or a film, which had a major part for a black actor, they'd bring someone over from America. There's a film based in Northern Ireland with Stephen Ray, the name of which escapes me. But it's about the IRA, and they've taken a soldier as prisoner, and they have him as prisoner. And throughout the film, they have a conversation. His prisoner is having a conversation with this black soldier, and the conversation is about cricket.
Right.
And they had this black American actor who wouldn't know which end of a cricket bat to hold.
Doesn't ring true at all, does it? No, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, he was a very fine actor.
Sure.
But it just demonstrates that instead of casting any number of, they went to America and brought this person over.
The optimist in you must hope that one day it'll be job done.
Well, I don't know if it'll ever be job done, but certainly progress has been made. Mm. But the one thing which I've learned is that if you take your foot off the gas, it comes to a dead stop, and suddenly you find yourself back where you started again. Because that happened 2 or 3 times throughout my career, where you think, hey, we're on our way now, we're on the up. And so you go back to doing what you want to do, which is not politicking in theatre, but making theatre. Yeah. And you turn around and you look, and suddenly you're right back where you started. The funding is gone. Mm-hmm. You get people talking about, we don't need to fund black theatre anymore because it's all part of the mainstream. I think, well, which mainstream?
Yes, that's right.
Do the mainstream know that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, from the sublime to the ridiculous, we're coming to an end now, Anton. We're just going to play another silly little game, which we call Mute, Cute, or Recruit. Now, do you know Snog, Marry, Avoid? Have you heard of that phrase before? Snog, marry, avoid. This is our version, a Gerry Anderson version. I'm going to show you 3 characters from the Gerry Anderson universe, some of whom you might not know. So it's a gut feeling, really. We're trying to assemble some characters to make our very own international rescue. Right. And I want you to imagine that 3 people have popped up on your Facebook profile, and you have to choose between them. One to mute, in other words, to never hear from again. One who you think might be cute, but one to recruit for your organisation.
Right.
Let's see how we go. It's Robert the Robot. From 5XL5. Mute him. So we have 2 more to go. Either one who's cute and one to recruit for an organisation. It's Zero from Terrorhawks. Might come in useful. Do you think he's cute, or would you recruit him?
I'd probably recruit him.
Which means that you must think that Mitch the Monkey
is pretty cute.
He's pretty cute, I think you're right. But we add Zero the Zeroid to our fantastic international rescue team. Thank you very much for choosing. Now, just before you go, you need to take 3 random cards for our next guest. We won't see what they are until next time. That's it, you've got 3 there, I think.
Right,
That's fine, we don't need to look at those. I shall hand them over to our next guest, and they get to choose who is mute, who to mute, and who to recruit. Thank you so much, Anton. It's been an absolute personal pleasure to have you around the table here on the podcast.
Well, I've enjoyed it enormously. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Anton Phillips, everyone.
What a nice man.
Thank you so many
not
thanks.
You.
No, I know, obviously not me, Anton Phillips.
Yes.
For joining us. Wonderful things to talk to Anton about his experience on screen and in the theatre. Big theatre man, which is important, I think. Yeah. Certainly important to him.
And thank you, Anton, for making the trip to Slough to see us in the studio.
Yeah, not so very far away from Pinewood, of course.
No, very close. 15 minutes away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe a journey he knows well. Thank you so much to Anton for joining us. And next week, we're hoping to have Genevieve Gaunt. So now we've got to make it happen. All right? If not, it'll be someone else.
Absolutely.
But there we are. Now, over on YouTube, people have been commenting beneath previous podcasts and videos and Fab Facts.
Yes, those 2.
In particular, I think we released a video recently of Ed Bishop's opinion on the series UFO, that is, and the mistakes that it made.
Yes, he had some very interesting opinions there that not everyone shared.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's been quite popular.
Know. He was there.
I know, but his opinions were quite different to many viewers.
Fine.
David Moore commented.
Yeah.
I have watched a ridiculous amount of sci-fi over the years, and UFO still remains my favourite series. It has its faults and its missteps, but it always delivered the goods.
Okay.
So he says.
Yeah, fair enough. Stephen Potchley commented, I think UFO is the best sci-fi action series. Once again, Gerry, Sylvia and all the team proved time and time again that they were the best. UFO is not really dated as some sci-fi has. I liked the contrast between the action episodes and the human ones, like the episode A Question of Priorities. With UFO, you get the best of both worlds, human and alien. It was such a shame that it only ran for one series.
Absolutely. We get lots of people complaining about that. The big kind of UFO contingent who were not so keen on Space 1999, they say, well, I wish they'd never made Space 1999.
Because they were robbed.
Another UFO. Yeah, I know. But, it couldn't be that way.
No.
Makara80 says, Bishop certainly has some interesting opinions on UFO, but I must say that I disagree with him on most.
Fair enough.
You see, I told you they were contentious.
Yes, I see.
Giving Straker definable character flaws and personal dilemmas as well as alien incursions to repulse was both bold and novel in an era when main protagonists were typically one-dimensional. As such, Straker was far more complex a figure than the archetypal flawless commander stoically ordering the destruction of UFOs each week, and every week he could so easily have been doing so. Far from diluting the show's core premise, a humanised Ed Straker enhanced it. Because Ed was saying he felt that the soap opera elements, as he described them, the human elements, distracted from the core of the show. And lots of people disagreed.
Yeah, fair enough. There you go. People have been commenting beneath the first part of our interview with Nigel Planer as well a couple of weeks ago. Shane Paul said, listen to the podcast when I was at work at 5 a.m. As now I'm home, I go straight to the end to watch Randomiser and give my best wishes to Chris Dale. He watches Torchy, so we don't have to.
Well, except now that if you watch Chris Dale doing the Randomiser watching Torchy, you also have to watch Torchy. So,
that's true.
Yep.
John Clay says, good FAB fact from 76. Liked Chris's UFO t-shirt, enjoying the new audio CDs and the third 5-star 5 book. Well done, Richard James. Look forward to pod 269. But the final word on that particular pod goes to Ian Dealey, who says, great to see Nigel Planer have a go on super identification, although the score should have been a lot better.
He didn't score that well, did
6.
he, down there? Yeah.
6, I think, for Nigel.
Nice try, though, Nigel.
Absolutely.
There's no shame in it.
No, of course there isn't, yes.
Over on the Making of Space Patrol video,
yeah,
because we've recently released Space Patrol on Blu-ray, which is now available. David Hind says, as a boy, I absolutely fell in love with Space Patrol. I was hooked from the very first time I saw the opening sequence. Space Patrol had a dreamlike, otherworldly feel to it, which, along with all the other amazing electronic sounds, was exactly right to fire a young boy's imagination. Thank you to Roberta Lee and Arthur Provis and others. Even as a 60-year-old, I still have wonderful memories of watching Space Patrol.
Lovely. Wonderful. Yeah, now that's interesting, isn't it? So there's definitely a contingent of Anderson fans who are just as big fans of Space Patrol.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
You know, I know it's not an Anderson show, but it felt very right that we, keep it available and out there. And it's another thing to enjoy. If you like Supercar and 5XL5 and other Anderson shows, then chances are you will enjoy Space Patrol. And lots of people who actually only knew Space Patrol and not the Anderson stuff so much. So.
Now, by the time this podcast is released on September the 18th, will people have got their grubby hands on copies of Space Patrol?
They're grubby and they're clean hands, yes.
Right,
yes.
so let us know. If you've never seen it before, particularly, let us know what you think. Do you think it's a welcome addition to the Anderson family, as it were? Does it feel slightly odd to you or a perfectly natural fit? Let us know. podcast@gerryanderson.com.
I'm guessing the latter.
You think so?
I think people are going to be pretty happy about it. We haven't had any complaints so far.
Talking about people being very happy and not complaining about things, I don't think we've ever had a complaint about the Randomiser.
Is that really true?
No, I think it's
We've
true.
never had a single complaint.
No,
I can't believe
never
that.
happened. No.
Not even from the Randomiser himself.
Well, I mean, there are certain episodes he'd rather not watch.
Yes.
Shall we see if he's about to watch one of them?
Why not?
Over to you, Chris.
Good luck.
Anton, if you'd like to come back for one more press of the Randomiser, since you did so well last week and produced an episode of your own show, which I still think is quite a major achievement.
Well, let's see what we get this time.
See what we get this time, yes. Now, we never have the same show more than 1 week running, so we're not going to get any more Space 1999 this week. We are, in fact, going to have some 4 Feather Falls by the look of it, and the episode is...
Gunrunners.
Oh, I don't know anything about that one, but I'm sure we'll find out right now. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on here.
This pressing finger is good.
You've done it very well, thank you. So, we now welcome back to the Randomiser. It's 4 Feather Falls, and it's Gun Runners. I nearly said Gunplay. I suspect that's an episode I've already done. Anywho, there's our good friend Tex Tucker. Let's see what adventure he gets up to this week. I suspect it'll involve some gun runners. Oh, okay, I can immediately tell this is reasonably early. I feel I've been saying that a lot about 4 Feather Falls recently, but I can immediately tell the Rocky Puppet.
I'm about ready for my tea.
Slightly the voice as well. Yeah, the puppets they definitely look better than they did in the beginning.
Do something about that dog.
I've waffled over it there. It's something that came up previously on Four Feather Falls. Dusty just called Rocky the biggest dude in the West, as if it was an insult. I wouldn't mind being called the biggest dude. I think that's quite cool. I guess it's one of those things that's, changed over the years, possibly, or I don't know. Maybe that was an insult in the old West to be called a big dude.
Way back in my hometown.
Oh, okay. So we have the song. This is Happy Hearts and Friendly Faces, which I think is probably my favourite of the songs. But instead of just having Tex singing as they plod along, we're getting shots of the townsfolk going about their business, which is a nice touch.
And the cocks are crowing in the morning.
Always also get a shot of passing rocks. That's traditional by this point. Every day is spring, yes, you can fritter away your golden Monte Carlo. Come on, sing along, everybody.
But if you've got an idea that you'd like to settle down, you'll love those gentle folks in homely places, happy hearts and friendly faces, way back in my hometown.
People say with Terrorhawks that the Kate Kestrel songs threaten to stop the story cold. In Four Feather Falls, they really stop the story cold. I mean, at this point, the story hasn't even started yet. Nice to get the song out of the way, I suppose, but I suppose I'd like to know more about the approach to the inclusion of the songs in the series. Oh, there's Kalamakuya! Not seen him for a while. Obviously, some of the songs were out on vinyl.
Great chief, greetings.
But it's quite early for them to be thinking in terms of merchandise.
Bad news.
Yeah? What's the trouble?
Paleface, sell guns to
Oh.
Red Scalp.
Oh dear.
Big trouble.
Yes, well, he would do.
That's bad.
That's the title of the episode.
Peace with white brother. Red Scalp keep bad medicine. Many braves take war path.
Okay.
Kalamakuya has spoken.
So I kind of like the sort of politics that we were presented with there. Obviously, Big Chief Kalamakuya is on our side. It's nice to get the statement there to back up that his tribe are, for the most part, looking to be friends with the white man. That is not as well shown in the series as it perhaps often should be. I'm thinking of episodes like Ambush, where there's like an Indian attack on the train, and of course you have Red Scalp as a villain. By and large, the villain Indians kind of outnumber the good guys quite a bit. But yes, Tex has immediately put 2 and 2 together and come up with Big Ben is responsible for all this.
Trading guns to Red Scalp, for instance. Prove it. I'll prove it, all right.
And I guess this is where Big Ben lives.
I'll be back.
Ooh. In the meantime, I just wanted to let you know that I know.
I'm sure Big Ben's hiding something. And that's
Because he's normally so trustworthy.
That doesn't surprise me.
This is nice. Sort of sparkly version of the Four Feather Falls theme. Oh, a ghastly bounder.
Hey, Tex. Where's Dusty?
Oh, he's around somewhere. Dusty. Hey, Dusty.
Oh, Rocky's mouth is moving. Sorry, I just noticed. I thought for a moment there was dialogue that wasn't playing, but I've never noticed that his mouth moved when they walked the puppet. Maybe that was something they didn't stick with for long. Anywho, Dusty, in his clever way, has gone back to Ben's shack to keep an eye on things, which is something, Tex might have thought to do. But got to leave it to Dusty to come up with the best plans around here.
Red Scalp. Powwow with Big Ben.
Come on in, Red Scalp.
My old buddy Red Scalp. Oh, Dusty is such a good boy.
Oh, yeah, I got the guns.
And skimming through this recently, looking for footage for the interview with Nigel Planer, I was struck by, it almost seemed in the first episode that Big Ben was in, which I don't think was this episode, but it almost seemed like he wasn't planned to be a regular villain, and then something about just how strongly he came across in the first episode kept him around, because you have Pedro and Fernando, they are essentially the default villains. You also have Red Scalp. Big Ben isn't like an immediate necessary part of the format, but I'm glad they kept him around.
I reckon I better get out of here while the going's good.
Because the puppet looks quite sinister. He's there's something of the old school Hollywood, very Edward G. Robinson face. It could be who it's modelled on. Which he also reminds me, which I think again is an Edward G. Robinson homage, of the leader of the Anthill mob in Wacky Races. I can't remember his name.
Bosh, wake up! Wake up, Bosh!
So, Dusty has done all the detective work, while Tex has gone to bed.
Love of Mike. Can't it wait till morning?
Who's Mike, Bosh?
Anyway.
And I only know this as a result of skimming through the episodes. This shot of Dusty coming into Tex's room appears in another episode, and it's almost, I would have to assume, the same footage.
Ben's meeting Red Scalp, Dead Man's Hill, in the morning.
And they're still playing that thing that they did with early episodes, where Dusty comes in and delivers a line quite clearly, if fast, and Tex says, "Take it easy, Dusty." "Oh, but Tex, there's a man with a chainsaw trying to kill everybody." "No, slow down, I can't make out what you're saying."
Show up.
Oh, there's Big Ben.
Give a look around and see what gives.
Well, this is what gives. Big Ben. And, he spotted Tex's... No, he spotted Red Scalp's feather. Ah. Okay. Why are we getting comedy music? Oh, right, he has seen Tex's feather. That's what I was going to say originally.
Yeah. Looks like Ben's over by that rock there.
And where's Red Scalp?
I don't know. I'd better look around the other side.
Yeah, you do that. Does it involve walking the puppet? No? Who's that now? So basically our villains are now playing a game of Spot the Hat. I thought this episode would have a bit more of a serious tone to it, considering, gun running is quite a serious threat as far as Big Chief Kalamakuya explained to us. This is quite serious. Now our villains seem to...
No good Redskins brought a buddy to try and double-cross me.
Right, there's a bit of a case of mistaken identity brewing here. Which of course leads to... Oh, Ben's lucky to be alive there. That's also a good example of, in the early shows, this and Supercar, I don't think it would have gone on to XL5. It might have done. That instead of having charges in the guns, they would just scratch the... No, they wouldn't scratch the negative. They would paint black onto the negative, so that then when it was developed, it would come out as a white flash. And another early live-action insert shot there was Tex pulling his gun out.
I have a long time to learn that lesson.
And curiously that... Oh, that's an interesting close-up. Curiously, that wasn't the magic guns that helped him there. Oh, it was Tex's own quick response. Was that a fishing rod? Something to the left of frame just came in there that looked like a fishing rod. I don't know if that was something to trigger a charge.
This is what we both want, Chief.
Yeah.
Kalamakuya, blink tank.
And probably a doctor for Big Ben, since he's bleeding from the skull, having got an arrow through it. So,
Well, I guess Red Scalp won't be troubling us for a while.
Not till next week, anyway.
Get going, Ben.
But I'm bleeding from the brain, Tex. Oh, it's gold, but it's gonna also disappear.
It's no good, Ben.
Oh, dear.
It ain't so easy to get your hands on Indian gold.
Aha. Well, that was Four for the Falls, Gunrunners, and much like all of them, thoroughly enjoyable, thoroughly charming, an interesting pair of villains to frame the story around. It's nice that it wasn't always Pedro and Fernando in these stories. It's nice that they widened the scope of the series. Interesting that we didn't get really any of the other townsfolk in this story, which is a shame because I pretty much like all of them. But yeah, again, early days I think with this one, so we're still finding our way a bit, but we've created some credible, slightly threatening villains here, and yeah, on the whole, good episode. Gunrunners, I'm glad I saw that. Wish I could be watching it in high definition on Blu-ray. Hint, hint. Come on. Someone out there can make that happen, really. Anywho, where's the face in the sky? That's it, and we're done.
Do you know, I can't hear the Four Feather Falls song.
Oh, well, try adjusting the volume.
Without imagining you and Sophie Aldred riding Chris Dale around a room. Do you think you'll ever leave that memory behind?
No, it's a fantastic memory to have.
Yeah.
Do you think we should explain that or just leave that there?
For those of you who don't know, when we were at Brit Sci-Fi in Leicester earlier in 2023, we performed a previously lost, unknown Nicholas Parsons Four Feather Falls script called Dusty's Day, and Chris played Rocky the horse.
That's
and
right.
as part of the performance, Richard and Sophie really threw themselves in, and they rode Chris. They sat on his back, and there are photos and videos, and you can watch Dusty's Day on the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel.
Yeah, lovely. How fantastic. I mean, a great project would be to bring that to life, wouldn't it? Like properly,
Literally.
Like
a live action version.
No, not necessarily live action, but to create some puppets and.
Oh, goodness me. All right, then, off you go.
Well, I'm not going to do it.
Good luck.
I'm not saying I'm going to do it. It's
quite a lot of work.
No, I know, that's why I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying it would be a great thing to do.
Wouldn't it be nice if somebody else did it?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's quite often the way.
Yeah. If you can think of any other things that would be a quite nice thing to do, why not let us know at podcast@gerryanderson.com. In the subject line, just put quite a nice thing to do. And let us know what you think would be a quite nice thing to do.
That's very generic, though.
That's all right.
Anything like, I quite fancy a picnic.
Absolutely. That's great. We could talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I didn't realise we were...
Just broadening things out.
That's incredibly broad, though. We've gone from niche to whatever the hell you like. Broady, broad.
There you go. And join us next week for Pod 275. 276.
This was 275. There you go. See, look, you've invented a new way of delivering podcast numbers now. So next week in Pod 276.
Join us next week for Pod 276 on the Gerry Anderson podcast. Oh, bye.
Bye.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
I really enjoyed that.
Stop it. I just, sometimes my mind races ahead and my mouth can't keep up. That's all it is.
Well, it provided me with much amusement.
Yeah. What are you doing for the rest of the day?
Probably go and get myself a little coffee.
Yes.
Quite fancy one of those now.
Okay, excellent, yeah. Are
Maybe
you going to
some
pretend
lunch.
that you work at ESA?
I often do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Does it get you a discount at coffee stores?
No, nothing like that. No, a lady... I went down to Tijuana when I was out in San Diego just for a little visit. And a lady came up to him and she went, "Oh my God, sir, do you work for NASA?" And I went, "No, sorry." And she just looked deflated and walked straight off. So I'm basically going to spend the rest of the day disappointing people.
Well, I mean, no change there.
Thank you very much.
That's how you spend most of your days.
Make a
I'm
career
going to
of
spend
it.
the rest of the day trying to convince people I'm Batman.
Quite right too. Batman.
Thanks. See you next week. That was an Anderson Entertainment production.
You'll love those gentle folks in homely places, happy hearts and friendly faces, way back in my hometown.